This episode is brought to you ad-free thanks to all of our wonderful patrons. You can get tons of exclusive content and help us keep the show going by joining at patreon.com/shonenflop. Welcome to Shonen Flop Chibi, First Impressions mini episode where we talk about the first chapter of the series we'll be covering in depth next week with our guest, Oni Dino. I'm Jordan, and with me today, as usual, is my lovely co-host, David. Say hi, David.
Yes. Hi, David.
Oh, David.
Yeah.
What series are we covering this week, my fancy friend, old chum?
Get a fine glass of the champagne.
I do love me some champagne.
That's the official David pronunciation.
Yeah.
Imagine on the main episode, one of us just pronounced it champagne the entire time, and like we make Oni think about like, does he have to correct us or?
Let's just confuse the shit out of him. I like that.
What is this bubbly mess? This bubbly series? Who is it by?
It is drawn by a guy named Kenji Nagatomo and written by a guy named Araki Joe.
No relation.
No relation to that dude who did JoJo.
I'm sure he got a ton of JoJo jokes though.
Oh, I feel bad for him.
Joe jokes.
Oh, and his name is Joe.
I still can't believe the protagonist of Part 9 is called Jodio.
It's so fucking good.
It's so stupid.
It's stupid in the perfect Araki way.
Ugh, Araki, absolutely based legend.
I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, but I think it's so weird to read JoJo in real time and hear them talking about like current artists. Like,
right?
A character is just like, you're listening to Dua Lipa again, weren't you?
I still can't believe Machine Gun Kelly has like his own like section of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because he's from Cleveland.
Really?
Yeah. But then Jordan, so when was this series published?
It ran between April 18th, 2018 to March 6th, 2019 with 15 chapters over 2 volumes. This is in the U19 Club, David.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
And what happened in the first of those 15 chapters?
Oh, David, it sounds like you're trying to transition to the plot summary.
Oh, that's very true.
How smooth, like fine champagne. An old artist and his equally old friend are hanging out with some sexy hostesses at a club, talking about how they want to be Japanese Van Gogh, or at least they did, when they ask for fine champagne called Dom Perry, or DP, LOL. The artist smashes the glass and says, "It's a fake." Then the hostess, whose name is Emma, wakes up in class because her teacher, Shunsuke, is quoting George Bataille, who was the inspiration for Cruelty Squad, which is how I know him. And she makes him take her and her autistic friend Rin to lunch in order to apologize. And I say autistic, I don't mean that as some weird ableist joke. I mean like...
Yeah, this is not Robot Laserbeam.
No, I mean, like, she is one of the most clearly, intentionally written autistic characters I've ever seen. Emma is still stressing about the champagne incident. Oh no, I said it correctly. Oh no, the joke's dead. She has to find a way to prove it's real in order to save the club's reputation. However, she doesn't know shit about wine. Her lecturer, though, knows about French history, so she threatens to accuse him of sexual harassment unless he helps her. Whoa, what a nice person. He then mispronounces champagne, which he makes the joke I was making, activates Rin, who immediately just info dumps a ton of shit about champagne. Popcorn David.
The two decide they can pretend that Shunsuke is a champagne researcher as long as Rin is there to help. So they sit down with the artist and explain how it has golden bubbles, so it's real. The old art guy reveals that he never drank that kind of champagne before, and he lied. But hey, did you notice how everyone freaked out when he threw a temper tantrum? I guess that means it might be fake anyway. Okay, boomer. He then continues being an asshole to his old friend before storming out. Rin suggests he try and drink the DP with his friend again, because it's the wine of reconciliation. The old guy presents the champagne to the artist and calls him Van Gogh, and the art guy cries and apologizes and then cuts off his ear and kills himself, and only ever sells one painting in some...
And his work is just continually exploited by way richer people forever, and he never learned about his own success. And no, that's great. Cool.
It's really sad.
Very tragic story.
Yep. And the art guy cries and apologizes for being a baby earlier. Shunsuke tells the old guys that he's about to be evicted from his house. So the old guy, who's an old rich guy, obviously, lets him stay in his penthouse, which is actually just a shed on top of the building. Which, if that ain't a metaphor for the fucking boomers fucking over millennials.
God, seriously. I mean, like, to be honest, first impressions, I don't know about you, David. I really don't give a fuck about champagne, like, at all.
I don't either, but I think if you're into this topic, this manga would be very interesting.
Which is kind of the issue. So much of this manga is trivia. Like, half of it is trivia.
Well, he has Araki, so it makes sense.
That's a good point.
I wonder if they're actually related.
I highly doubt it. But the thing is, like, the first time I read this, I was so bored. I didn't give a fuck. It was just annoying to get through. I was rolling my eyes every time they were talking about this rich, fancy drink for rich, fancy assholes. The second time I read it, I skimmed over the trivia. I, like, barely read it. I enjoyed it more, honestly. I started seeing, okay, there is, like, a little bit of character here because, like, my issue was the first time I read it, it was just like, I don't care about champagne, but if you make me care about people who care about champagne, I can find a way to care about champagne. And I don't really feel like it did that fully.
No, this manga is just really, really slow. And it makes me take for granted Tricks Dedicated to Witches, where it's not very hard to make someone want to learn about magic tricks.
Very true. And to be fair, it's like, this is the premise of the manga. I don't want to just reject something by its premise. That's not fair. But this first chapter didn't really do it for me that much. It definitely wasn't trash.
Yeah, it's just kind of boring. I do want to give it credit that every piece of information was given diegetically. Like, there's not like a narrator or like a page just of info dump. It's them actually talking like how actual people would be teaching people about wine in real life.
And they did kind of mention champagne's like a huge class thing.
Yeah.
You know, like the reason why the artist hadn't tried it is because he points out he's a poor artist, which, by the way, David, hey, another thing that rubbed me the wrong way. You know what you will never fucking hear in your life?
What?
An old, experienced, talented artist saying his favorite artist is Van Gogh.
How come?
Because he's so fucking basic. He is the most basic artist. Like, don't get me wrong. I like Van Gogh. I think he's a very good artist, but it's like, that is such a boring, lame answer. Like, to be an artist, you have to constantly be like getting in new influences, checking out like weird stuff that like people haven't seen before. But Van Gogh, he's been so commercialized, and this is part of the reason, like, the tragedy of Van Gogh. Everybody owns something with Starry Night on it. If you're talking to like an old artist and you say your favorite artist is Van Gogh, they're gonna be like,
it's just big sigh.
Yeah, like, yeah, I guess. All right. Yeah, it's not really fair to Van Gogh, but that's kind of how it is. So that kind of, when I first saw that, I definitely rolled my eyes. Like, Van Gogh, come on, man.
Understandable. Have a nice day.
You lived in fucking France, it sounds like. At least say like Chagall or something, like, or at least Monet. Jesus Christ.
My last thought is I do still think that I do appreciate that the teenager or the college kids talk like millennials. So it is nice that the dialogue does still feel natural and it's not like they're all like factoid robots. Like I'm sure this series could have easily done, except for the one autistically that exists to dump facts about.
Yeah.
So maybe I should take that back.
I'm kind of interested in her. I want to learn more about her. Like, if this series gets interesting, it's going to be because of her.
Yeah.
I think it's very possible that she has like a relatively interesting story arc. I'm not holding too high hopes for it, but you know, it's there. She could also just be a super like stereotypical autistic character.
Fair. And then Jordan, would you read our 10 chapters of this?
Okay, I don't know. Probably not.
Nah, I feel like the first chapter was fun to read as a novelty, but
yeah. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because this is such a strange concept for a manga. It's like when somebody just does something where you're like, oh, that's obviously a bad idea, but they seem to really care about it. So you're like, all right, man, I'll give you a chance. You know, you seem like you might know what you're doing more than I do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm willing to give him a chance. Didn't he also have like a previously famous manga called Sommelier?
Bartender, yeah.
Bartender. So like this guy, he's no newbie to writing manga about alcohol.
Yeah, I think it was just, he just wanted to make more material, but he didn't really know what to do. Maybe it's in the same cinematic universe and there's like a bunch of in-jokes that if you read that manga you would get.
I like the idea that he's like Hirohiko Araki's like drunk cousin.
Yeah.
Like he's just drinking all the time. He's got a similar level of obsession as the other Araki, but like it's only with alcohol.
They just meet a bunch of characters that names are alcohol. They're like, oh, it's gin, vodka. Well, my gray goose has no weakness.
Everybody's named after like a famous alcoholic. Like, my Stan's name is Boris Yeltsin.
Maybe our next Patreon reading will be what their drink name would be.
Oh God.
We can have Dylan on that. He'd actually probably have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know enough about drinks, to be honest.
Okay, maybe not.
Everybody's just named Sex on the Beach.
There you go. That could have been our April Fool's Patreon reading. All right, so Jordan, speaking of you making theories about things, what do you think will happen next?
I think that Rin's love of champagne is because, David, it was the only shining light that she had in her dark, depressing home where she came from.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, I guess might mean that she was drinking when she was underage or something. I don't know. The next one is they will go to France. And the last one is somebody will mispronounce champagne in the last chapter. Again, it'll be like a little bow on the story. It'll rhyme.
Oh, it's like poetry.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I was playing Telestrations, which is like a visual telephone thing, and I had to write the word nice, and I tried drawing the French, like drawing France with like nice circled, and it did not work.
No. Should have just drawn 69.
Yeah, maybe it was 69. I don't even remember. But yeah, I was like, this is clearly the best way to do it. So my guess is there will be some sort of turn of arc that probably is what tanked the series. There will be literally no other form of alcohol that is drunk or really talked about, not including other sparkling, because they'll be like, whoa, sparkling cider, that's just like champagne. And I think they're going to go to like a sport event or like a wedding or something, and the entire reason is just because you know where you drink champagne? At a wedding. So we're going to have them go to a wedding, and that's literally the only reason they went.
What if there's like an arc where they have to defeat the beer aficionados?
God, that sounds fun.
They have to prove that champagne is better than beer.
No, man. This reminds me, I got the ingredients to make a reverse mimosa for Rachel. Have you heard of this?
No.
So you use carbonated orange juice and white wine.
Oh.
Yeah, it sounds fun, doesn't it? I just got some carbonated orange juice to try it.
Like what I said about the champagne, like about how that was ridiculous. Like if this manga was more ridiculous, if this was like the food wars of champagne, I'd be so much more into it.
But Jordan, what's your power word?
Fine. Like fine wine, fine art, and this manga was like fine.
I was really proud of this one when I wrote dry.
Yeah.
Because, you know, wine is dry sometimes, and then
sometimes
this manga is just very dry. This is like the dark chocolate of manga.
Is there wine that's described as wet?
It's a sweet dry. So Q&A, right?
Got some fucking questions? Anything? Yeah.
Just a reminder, you can post your questions in the Shonen Flop Discord, where we have a Q&A section, and we give priority to those who are patrons, those who have not had a question answered in a long time, and those that have asked questions for the first time. Starting with Agpa, which series/world would you like to become a protagonist in the manga we've covered?
Time Paradox Ghostwriter.
You'd be a famous author.
Like the ending, like as an artist where he gets trapped in that like world where he just has enough time to do like everything. I don't know. That's kind of appealing to me. Just like, yeah, I don't know.
Fair.
Just give me enough time.
I feel like Candy Flurry is a bad idea, but it would be fun if you had the Candy Flurry power.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, the Candy Flurry world is also like fun to be in.
Imagine if you're like Spider-Man, but instead you shoot out Twizzlers. All right, there. Twizzler Spider-Man.
They could have had more fun with that series.
Yeah, they really could have. From Holly91, aka Hassan, why is Sword Art Online the worst anime, and how do you think it sucks?
I think it sucks because I watched a bunch of videos that Mother's Basement made about why it sucks, so there's really nothing I can tell you about it that Mother's Basement didn't already say, because I've never seen Sword Art Online because I heard that it sucked from everybody.
The first part was kind of okay, and then it just gets way worse. May I recommend on a podcast called Anime Out of Context, where they talk in depth as well about why Sword Art Online is really terrible.
Oh, I've heard about those guys.
Yeah, Dylan, if you got any thoughts on Sword Art Online, feel free to insert them here.
Yeah.
Sword Art Online Alternate is the single greatest anime that you've ever shown me or that we've ever covered on the podcast. Any moment you could spend listening to this podcast, spend watching Sword Art Online.
Yeah, I don't know. It just comes off as like worse .hack sign, and .hack sign wasn't that great to begin with.
What? The dot hack anime was really good. Didn't that have like a weird trans element to it in like 2005?
Yeah, I guess I didn't mean it wasn't like that. It was bad. It was, I don't know. Yeah, no, the basic idea was that like the main character, I think was Tsukasa, and Tsukasa's avatar was male, but when they woke up in the real world, they were a girl, and then they actually wound up, I think, dating one of the female characters.
Yeah, man, I'll have to rewatch that. I haven't seen that anime in 20 years.
I was too harsh on it there. I don't know why I was.
That Thanos quote.
Which Thanos quote?
Perhaps I've judged you too harshly.
Yeah.
From Booty Stank, what is the best way to find manga for the future? Stuff y'all are going to review. I would say, honestly, reading Shonen Jump and realizing what manga is bad. If you see following the career of a canceled manga artist, you know, sometimes third time's the charm, but sometimes they just don't have it in them. Like the Golem Hearts guy fucked up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really looking for manga that are just not selling well, doing poorly in the table of contents, which I know isn't 100% related, but it still is a sign. Or just, you know, seeing how the conversation is in the Shonen Flop Discord, because people are definitely keeping eyes on series that they think we're going to cover.
At the end of the day, the best way really is just to read the new Shonen Jump releases, and because honestly, it feels like most of them these days are not good.
Yeah, I will also say you can get advanced knowledge of what manga we're going to be covering as a patron, where we post every single series we're going to be covering at the start of each month.
Yeah, do it.
Next up from Resident Warhammer Nerd, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? And no, I have never danced while looking at Jordan's ass.
Hey, no, and
Gotcha.
I have also never seen the original Batman movie. I don't watch movies, nor do I read manga.
Next up from A Spooky Skelly, have you ever read a specific piece that changed your outlook on life? Jordan, I feel like you definitely have.
Shit. Do you mean?
Or it could be like an album or art you've looked at, just something, some form of creative work that's changed your life.
Oh man, I definitely have, but like, man, I gotta go through like.
Didn't you just say dot hack sign really changed the way that you judge all anime?
Yeah. Definitely has happened. Fuck. There's some really great paintings by Claude Monet that made me cry. The paintings by Pavel Filanov kind of changed how I looked at art. There were a lot of things I read for this podcast that changed my outlook on life for the worst.
Yep.
No, I mean, legitimately, Time Paradox Ghostwriter kind of changed the way that I look at creativity. Like, legitimately. Not just creativity, but like just the process of being an artist.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and like the mindset.
Mine is A Whack on the Side of the Head is a great book in teaching you how to be more creative. Finally, from Chibata, why did I get a business degree? I don't know. I wasn't good at a lot of things, but I'm kind of smart. I like being organized, so and I like working at technology, so I got a degree in marketing and information systems. And unlike a lot of my compatriots, I was about to say cohorts, actually maybe that's okay too, I still actively use those degrees every day. So it seems like I really made a good choice, and I think it's given me a lot of organizational, creative, and technological skills that really help us run the show.
Getting a business degree makes more sense than getting an art degree.
Yeah, I know some good people with art degrees.
No, we're all bastards. People constantly look down on me for getting like an art degree. It fucking sucks.
I never look down at you, baby.
Thank you. Mostly because I'm taller than you.
Yes, that was a joke. But I think that's all the time we have for today.
That's all of them.
Jordan, I want to start by saying thank you so much for editing the Chibi and all of your hard work you do on the show.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for also editing the Chibi and also working so hard. Oh, I love you, David. Oh my God.
Oh,
my
I
God.
love me too.
Yeah, good.
I also want to give props to Shannon for an awesome cover art. Find her online at illuminyatea. Thanks to Dylan for assistance with editing. Find his podcast, Anime on Context, at animeoncontext.com. Thanks to Tucker and Maxie B for assistance with pronunciation, translation, and other miscellaneous research. Find us on Twitter at ShonenFlopcast and our website, ShonenFlop.com, on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcast. And we are almost up to 1,000 YouTube subscribers, so we'll do an extra special Q&A when we hit that. And come join the Shonen Flop Discord. Open to everyone, patron or not. Come hang out with us, talk about anime, games, or whatever else is on your mind. We also have a monthly movie night. Find a link to the show notes or on our site. And if you've been enjoying the podcast and want to help us keep going, consider subscribing to our Patreon. Wouldn't be able to keep the show running without their support. We are like $20 away from our $500 goal. Super excited.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that could be you right now, listener. Even $3, $5, or even $100.
For only $1,000.
If we hit $2,000 a month, we'll make an anime opening for our podcast. And Jordan, what is the super awesome exclusive piece of content they're going to get in April?
For this month, the exclusive content is going to be part 3 of our dive into Magushan.
Ooh, and we have one of our favorite guests of all time coming back, which is true for every guest we've come back, hence why we've asked them to come back.
That's right, David. We got Red from Overly Sarcastic Productions coming back.
Yeah. And then you could be listening to the warm-up audio and helping us pick what series we cover on the main episodes. And speaking of perks, we're going to read off some of our wonderful patrons right now.
Oh, yes.
Starting at the top with the Chainsaw Man patrons, we have Dude Man Bro Guy. He told me secrets. He told me lies. He told me he had health insurance. Anti-Root. Moving on down to my favorite tier, the Ravioli tier, where for $10 a month, you get weekly photos of my puppy, Ravioli. And we have Chris, Eva, Istrafont, Josh Robinson, Karate Chopsticks, Rachel, my wonderful girlfriend. She got me a copy of Resident Evil 4, and then she said, I'm going to go leave the house for the day so you can play it all Sunday. Thank you, Rachel.
David, you don't have a girlfriend?
I don't. You're right. I have a fiance. I fucked up.
There we go.
I hate the word fiance, though. It's so long. Scarlet Myrmidon, and Trevor Schechner. Moving on down to the King of the Force, we have 090Z, Albie, Cram, Shala Florine, Gabe Lando, Jacob Andrew Galloway, Kevin Briggs, Kirby Mon Discolus, Marty, Max Baker, T, the Dungeon Master Next Door, the Real Jory, the Wolf, the Wood, and the Trafalgar. If David says it correctly, Gold Star, the BB King, BB the, and Tommy Boy. Moving on down to Galactic Ball Federation officers, we have Blah Moo Moo, Brian Sexton, David Ackerson, Dennis James Moan, Drago, True, Dylan Crider, Eric Alex Klein, Nigel, Generic Man, Green, Hans, Heavy Metal Hermit Crab, Jason, Keanu, Lincoln Frey, Manly P. Hall, Marabara, my dad Marvin Weinberger, Matt Solovich, Melvy, Mike Carpenter, Peyton Richardson, Ralph Iskoff, Resident Warhammer Nerd, Rosenda Mendoza, Ryan Jasinski, Sarah Hydra, Scott Fischler, Simping for Senpai Ash, Staghorn, Taper Clip, our very own Tucker Watley, Wright, and ZZ Digital. Thank you all so much. I can't believe every time how long this list gets. It really warms me up to see how many wonderful patrons we have.
Hell yeah. Also, everybody, as I mentioned last time, new episode of Mission Ignition is out. And check out my Instagram. It's Jordan Forbes Art. I started oil painting it again, David.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's been like the first time in years. It's very exhausting. Like if I'm drained right now, it's because I spent like 2 hours painting and just focusing and getting really miserable with the results. But that's painting. That's why pain.
I was about to say, there is no I in paint, but there is a pain, and there is also an I.
I was gonna say there is an I.
Because there's always I in pain.
Yeah. Isn't there?
Well, Jordan, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. Tune in next Monday for our full episode on Champagan featuring Oni Dino. Is it Dino or Dino?
I don't know. You can dino these nuts.
This has been Jordan.
Got him. This has been David.
You've been listening to Shonen Flop. David, say it.
Keep on flopping floppers.
Bye.
Bye.